Hello, it's Rick Miracle with another book review. I think this is book review 29. This one is an interesting book. Jim Marrs, PSI Spys. Jim Marrs is a well-known researcher. Everything from the Kennedy assassination to the UFOs and Illuminati and New World Order, crooked banks, corporate CEOs. So I thought I would introduce you to a new topic, if you haven't already been introduced to it: remote viewing. This is where it's in the ancient history, we've all heard about Joan of Arc and recently Edgar Cayce and psychics and clairvoyance and prophecy, and so there's nothing new to this, but so many people today have been so dumbed down, uneducated by the school systems and other intentional powers that be, that they don't know about PSI spies, psychic spies. So just before I start reading a little bit of this book, you can see all my little tabs there, I thought I would just give you a brief explanation. And basically, they learned that they could put people in a quiet situation or room or whatever, and take away all the interference and have them meditate, and they could leave their bodies and go spy and see on the Russians or the Chinese or whomever. And it started out with the Russians. Sorry about that. Even my outdoor videoing, I can still get interrupted by the phone. This is I got this book on a used book site. You can get Jim Marrs' book new. Support him, buy his books. But this one here is signed by him. I thought that was kind of cool. The forward introduction: psychic intelligence. The past is prologue. Science, cutting edge, penetrating the impenetrable. Enter the PSI Spies. War in the ether. The ether is the air all around you, so if you can leave your body and your spirit travels around. Espionage. PSI goes public. The Enigma Files. So I'm going to just start reading a little bit of this, and we'll go from there. I began with my discovery of the psychic ability termed remote viewing, or RV. I began with my discovery of a psychic ability termed remote viewing, or RV. This phenomenon in the past had been called clairvoyance, prophecy, or soothsaying. Although recorded by all cultures throughout human history, it was believed simply an occult fantasy until scientific studies during the 20th century confirmed its existence. So since the early 1900s, they've been seriously into this. This book became one of the casualties of the ongoing conflict between science and ESP, military secrecy, and the public's right to know. That's why I'm doing these videos, the public's right to know. We don't have any corporate interference, and I can say whatever I want. As well as the never-ending intramural competition between government agencies and power-seeking individuals. My Lord, we have them. Okay. In a public speech, then Captain Ed Dames spoke about UFOs, detailing in no uncertain terms what they were, where they came from, and where they were going. Ed Dames was one of the early people they recruited to be one of their psychic spies. He could leave his body quite easily and see what was going on elsewhere, or maybe a Russian nuclear base or something like that. His matter-of-fact tone intrigued me, for here was no starry-eyed New Age fanatic, but a decorated military intelligence officer. Furthermore, Dames was no loose cannon. During his talk, he was flanked by Colonel John Alexander, a leading luminary in military non-lethal weapons research, who moved freely between both military and intelligence program, and Major General Albert Stubblebine, a former commander of the Army's Intelligence and Security Command. Well, that's a pretty high-level profile people that he knows, so it must be some inside information here. Dames told his audience about a development of remote viewing which he described as this profound tool. He also spoke of flying transport vehicles used to transport a type of resource, usually from Mars to Earth, sometimes through time. He spoke of giant inhabited underground caverns on Earth, and hibernating Martians on Mars, and transcendental energy beings who could access our very minds. Intrigued, I contacted Dames and soon learned the story of our military remote viewers. Dames said he and fellow Army officer David Morehouse were in touch with a New York literary agent. And there's some other ones, Lynn Buchanan, Mel Riley. I met members of the oversight committees that monitored the RV program, such as Paul Tyler, Colonel Alexander. I interviewed Dr. Hal Puthoff and Ingo Swann, the man most responsible for the development of RV. And I'm just reading my highlighted stuff here. I'm not going to read you a whole book. Dames, who by this time was claiming to be in contact with alien greys. Everyone involved with the book came to believe that the cancellation had been ordered by someone with great authority. That's why I said this book was his first casualty of the remote viewing disclosure, because the government tried to shut down the publication of this book. Everyone involved in the book came to believe that the cancellation had been ordered by someone with great authority, perhaps within the government. Subsequent events only substantiated this belief. Alright, there was a story released by a London newspaper that broke the RV topic. The story, entitled Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, PSI, written by Jim Schnabel, Schnabel, who earlier that year had received a copy of my manuscript from Dames. Their finished report, dated September 29, 1995, concluded that despite the fact that a statistically significant effect had been observed in the laboratory RV experiments, no compelling explanation had been provided for the observed effects. To say a phenomenon that had been demonstrated, we must know the reason for its existence. So, they don't know how it works, but they know it does work. Remote viewing was officially acknowledged at a news conference on November 28, 1995. The story received superficial and dismissive coverage in the New York Times and the Washington Post, which described the PSI Spys merely as a trio of citizens with suspected paranormal powers who were located at the Maryland military base. In 1996, Morehouse's own book, Psychic Warrior, was published by St. Martin's Press and was well received by readers. I read that book also. But the book's revelations incurred the lasting animosity of the military authorities, who were already angered by Morehouse's whistleblowing on other secret operations. This animosity spread to Morehouse's former comrade-in-arms, causing deep division between the former military remote viewers. Morehouse was ordered before a court-martial and later admitted to a psychiatric ward within the Walter Reed Army Medical Center. On the occasions when I visited him there, he was so heavily drugged that he could barely lift his head. The psychological literature is full of such accounts, said Cole seriously. Usually this phenomenon is connected with some life-threatening situation. Combat soldiers in extreme danger have often reported out-of-body experiences. I talk about it with my friends every now and then, and apparently quite a few people have had an out-of-body experience. Most of the material in these events is strictly anecdotal, but there have been some successful scientific tests also. Under lab conditions, test subjects have been able to induce an out-of-body experience and have retrieved data that was not available through normal means. In fact, the Army has been making a study of such things. So I thought I would contemplate this for a second and ask this question. If they can remote view, do they know something that we all should know? With that said, I want to do a little video thing because it just concerned me. You know, they got these TSA frisking everybody everywhere. They're building all these FEMA camps everywhere. Go on Google, look it up. Now, I'm not trying to be a paranoid person here, but if they can remote view, and I'm going to prove to you that they can, and I've got a half a dozen books on the subject that I've read. But they're building all these, you can go on Google, the internet, and check it out. These FEMA camps, these prisons for people. Do they know something that they're not telling us? Is that a fair question? I mean, they have spent a lot of money on this. I just go on FEMA camps images on the Yahoo or Google, and I save a lot of the pictures I see. And then go to the pharmacy, the local place, and print them out. About $10 for 60, 70 pictures. They plan on dividing up the nation, and they already have several different areas. That's a lot of trailers. Warning. Executive Order 11004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, allows the government to take over all models of transportation, allows the government to seize and control communication, allows the government to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum, allows the government to take over all food resources, farms. These are real presidential executive orders. Not to mention, these are just a few of them. To learn more, go to Google FEMA executive orders. This facility has been declared a restrictive area according to the Secretary of Defense. So don't go near these FEMA facilities. People who do go by there say there's a lot of construction going on there. Does that look friendly? The barbed wire is on the inside, so when they take you to these camps, they don't want you to get out. Can you see that it's on the inside? That is not a camp, it's a prison. And here's a Church of Christ. Beware of the FEMA death camps. The Jews thought it couldn't happen. Disaster recovery site. I'm just saying, but why the barbed wire? They really went through a lot of work on some of these. Like I said, you can go on Google. And you know, another thing too is they are trying to take the guns everywhere, and they're crushing all the guns, destroying all the guns. What do they know that they're not telling us if they can do this remote viewing? And of course, they've been making changes like the Patriot Act and the other law that they made that they can arrest people and hold them indefinitely anytime, anywhere. They're trying to burn up, destroy the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And of course, we know that they got drones. They're getting them dispersed all across the country. That's been in the news. They're manufacturing tons of coffins. Apparently these coffins can hold 3 average-sized persons. Communist countries with indefinite detention. Germany, Russia, China, North Carolina, Myanmar. These are places where they took the guns before they started slaughtering the people and then turned communist. They're trying to take the guns here. They're building camps. They're building coffins, manufacturing coffins. Again, I hate to be repetitive, but if they can remote view, what do they know that we don't know? Why did they manufacture a bunch of signs like this? There's been truck drivers reporting that when they delivered lots of signs like this. FEMA camp in Wyoming. There's 2 in Alaska. I thought that was strange. You can look this up on the internet. Sheeple. You know, they're going to recruit people. And they're going to say, hey, you know, we've had a ELMF, electromagnetic bomb going off, and it took out the power plants, so you're not going to have any food or any water. Come to the FEMA camps. That's what they're going to tell you. They're ready for you. Gestapo, 1941, and then 2011, Los Angeles. Old Glory behind the barbed wire. Trailers and trailers. Well, housing all ready for you. Now again, I'm not trying to have any kind of tendencies to have mental paranoia or disorders or something, and have some judge dictate that I have to go on medication to suppress me. With that said, I'll read a little more from this book. Once his training began, Morehouse found that remote viewing apparently has been with us throughout history. It has simply been gone by different names. From the earliest writings, there have been accounts of visions, prophecy, soothsaying, and divination. Yoga meditation, a succession of stages in which outside distractions are reduced, and attention becomes absorbed in a single object. This is how you get yourself in the state to do this, which in turn affects the oneness between mediator and object, meditator. First, distractions due to emotion and desire are reduced. Then bodily sensations as the mediator seeks to isolate consciousness from the sensory signals impinging from the external world. In the stages of the meditation process, termed samyana, paranormal phenomena may be produced, most commonly a feeling of clairvoyant, omniscience, but sometimes individual psychic effects, such as levitation, the movement of objects, and healing. Well, I have a few more books here to show you on the subject. This is the one with David Morehouse, Psychic Warrior. Your life will never be the same once you learn about all this. Thus came the first chilling words to Captain David Morehouse as he sat facing the program director of Stargate, the U.S. government's top-secret psychic espionage program. What we do here is train selected personnel to transcend time and space, to view persons, places, or things remote in time and space, and to gather intelligence information on the same. We want you to become one of us. The young Army captain's heart nearly stopped. From the Psychic Warrior himself. Tim Ritfat is another one. This is remote viewing. He was working for the government also. What is it, who uses it, and how to do it. Then he has one here for managers. A lot of corporations are using hired remote viewers to spy on other corporations. Tim Ritfat wrote another book I couldn't get in the U.S. I had to order it. from the UK. I was told they didn't sell it here. Police departments are using detectives to solve crimes. Now, as you know, I'm not a professional movie maker. I'm a book reader. I read a lot of books. And I thought you ought to know this information. Mind Race. Russell Targ and Keith Howry. As you can see, I've read a lot of this. Russell Targ is an experimental physicist with broad experience in lasers, microwaves, and plasma research. He, with Dr. Harold Putoff, founded the PSI research program. So you can get these books, new or used book sites. The United States got into it a lot because of this book, this book and some others. The mysterious phenomenon of the human psyche. And you can see all my tabs, I read all that. So when I'm talking to you, it's from all that reading, all these books. Just a sample here. The human brain I just opened it anywhere, during heightened activity becomes a source of metric and especially diametric, centrometric electromagnetic waves. These brain waves sometimes display a periodicity that is variable of wavelengths. And this is another one that started it off in the U.S. after this book was published. Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain. This is, as you see, all my tabs. So do you have to read all these books? And it started out, here's one from 1915. This stuff started out with this Journal of the American Society for Psychical Research. Fascinating to read these. They were doing seances back then, and all kinds of other investigation into ghost sightings, and professionally with seriously educated folks hired to do this. They investigated and they published 1915. I'm out here in the breeze. 1917. 1916. They use psychics to find oil. I'm pretty good at the dowsing myself, finding water, stuff like that. Basically, you use a pendulum. Then they got booklet from Edgar Casey about auras. So there's plenty of research. Journal of American Society for Psychical Research, 1992. So, yet again, getting back to this book, Jim Mars. So I have a stack of books here, almost 1.5 feet tall, that I've read. And we did look at some pictures. So I thought we'd look at a little more. My bottom line is this. If they can remote view, and they've got psychics, why, and I know it sounds funny, why the FEMA camps? What do they know? Like I said, go on FEMA camps. These are prisons all over the country. You saw the pictures. The highways, they built up all kinds of embankments and cables and all that, so people could, once they get on the interstates, they can't get off. When you're driving down the highways, notice for yourself. And notice the sky spraying in this picture. Obviously, the artist is alarmed by all the spraying in the sky. The all-sin eye. Those with no chip merge right. So when they do have the martial law thing, and people who get chipped can get into America, look what that says. And if you're not chipped, you got to pull over to the right and probably get chipped, or you're not getting in the America. FEMA camps. We all remember Katrina and how they handled that. And like I said, go on Google. And it looks to me like they got at least a nationwide martial law plan. Why? If they can remote view, what do they know they're not telling us? Am I making my point? I don't have to read all these books. I showed you the covers. You can order a book. Just telling you, I read the books. Will they use stadiums to house people, contain people? These are just on the FEMA camp image websites on Yahoo or Google. Here's a funny little postcard. Welcome to FEMA camp. They're all located in remote areas, a lot of them, with the barbed wire so that you can't get out. So when they invite you, how you like this? When they invite you to the FEMA camp, is it likely to be a one-way trip? It's amazing to me, these photos. Jesse Ventura visited some of them and asked some questions at the gate. You can look this up on the internet and see the videos. Like I said, the coffins are built for 3. Guess they could get 5 or 6 kids in them. Even, I guess they have trains to transport people all over the USA. Another Google Maps. A lot of people did the Google map and posted it on the FEMA Camp Yahoo Google image website. You can see where they are in your state. Unbelievable. Unbelievable we even have to have this conversation. But you don't want to go to one of these camps if whatever happens, happens. And like I said, I got a stack of books here. A dozen on remote viewing. Barbed wire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Looks like they got the FEMA regions, as we've seen in some other pictures. So I wonder if after this martial law, will there be 10 different nations? Will the United States be dissolved? Will the royal elite, all the families, get one of these and they'll be designated kings or something? Hey, I'm just asking questions. Something is strange going on. So, it took me a year or so. I read all those books. This is the first, I have to do a progressive thing with these videos I'm making so that you can see what I can see and see the big picture. Will they actually fool people into this? Look at the skull on the front of the truck. Look at the people partying. We're going to FEMA camp. Barbed wire and all. I was looking at one of these books the other day. This one here. And apparently they were doing something like a seance, a magical ritual. And she says this is page 240. She says, I touch the Shiva Lunga and rest my forehead on it. So I asked myself, what's the Shiva? And I looked it up on the internet. It's a snake god statue. And the snake on the linga became alive and bites my right index finger. I writhe and place my head on the lap of the man to my right. He pats me. So they're having a seance, and she does something and touches the snake god statue, and it becomes alive and bites her in this 1992 edition of the Psychic Research book. Oh, let's see, here's something else here. There's a lot in here about the later manifestations of the SHARADA. So you might want to get these books. And do a little poking around yourself. Psychic discoveries. And I read it all. You can see all my tabs. I read this one a year or so ago. I read this one. See all my tabs? And I can tell you they had professors and scientists, and they hooked up people to machines, and they flipped the cards or had other kinds of guessing games, and scientifically discovered that, yes, in fact, people had these skills. They could put a picture of something in an envelope, put it in a safe. The subject would not know what it was, and he was told to look into the safe, and they would give him a piece of paper, and they told him to clear his mind, and he would draw maybe the Eiffel Tower. This guy here was a PhD, a physicist. Russell Targ here, engineer. And like I said, police departments. Tim Ritfat lives in England. He's on. You can look at these people, their videos on YouTube. All these people, if they're still alive, you can. If they're dead, they probably still have some videos on there. But you can see them doing radio talk shows or guest appearances. And like I said, I can't read you all this. I can tell you that it appears to be, after all these books, to be a very real subject. And again, if they can do this, if they can remote view, if they can look into the future, they must know something. And they spent millions, billions of dollars on all these FEMA camps, amongst other things, trying to disarm the people in the U.S., seemingly fake school shootings to get laws passed, like the Boston bombing or Sandy Hook or the Batman movie shooting, and 911, which still to me hasn't been resolved. Who did it? So there you have Rick Miracle, me, my point of view, reading all these books and condensing it into a video with my thoughts, maybe to inspire you to look into it. And if you see it's real, tell your friends. I wouldn't recommend going to a FEMA camp if there is a fabricated crisis. And apparently there's numerous ways they could do it. A plague, a Russian or Chinese attack, an ELF weapon, electromagnetic pulse that takes out the grid system to power plants, an asteroid like the movies they're making, the Earth changing its axis, alien attack. I don't know what they're going to do, but it sure looks like they're doing something. So I'm doing my part, as I read all these books, and apparently this technology is real. I personally have had an out-of-body experience. Of all days, it was Christmas Day Eve, and I had done charity work all day. I'd gotten divorced a few months earlier, so I was alone. But I did charity work all day, and I went back to my apartment in Orlando, Florida. And the next thing I know is I'm floating up in the air, looking at me like you're looking at me. And I saw myself laying on the couch. And I looked around my living room, and I'm kind of a clean freak. And I could see the TV on and the clock. But I noticed the top of the refrigerator was black. And if you put your finger through it, you probably draw a line. It was so much soot and dirt. And the refrigerator sat right next to the stove. So anyways, I thought, well, geez, what can I do in this state? And I've read Edgar Cayce, and I'd read other things. I was a well-read young man. And I thought, well, I think I can go somewhere, and then I can go there and see what the people are doing, and I can come back and call them up and tell them I was out of my body. It was actually exciting to begin with. So I willed myself to go there, and I found myself leaving the lighted room and swish moving through darkness. This happened to me. And I panicked. And I said, wait a minute, did I die? And I said, I don't want to die. I want to go back to my body. And swoosh, I'm back in the room. Next thing you know, whoop, I'm laying there on the couch on my back, looking up at the ceiling, wondering what the heck just happened. And I remembered the top of the refrigerator. I'm 5'8". So I'm not tall enough to walk around and see the top of refrigerators. If I did, I would have cleaned it. So I got a chair and I stood on top of it, and that white refrigerator on the top was black. I still don't clean the top of refrigerators because I can't see them. So I guess I ought to check it. But that happened to me. Amongst other things in my younger life, people used to be a little spooked by me. I'd think of people just before they called or stuff like that. So I had sort of a reputation of being a little psychic. So apparently it's real. They wrote all these books, hundreds of remote viewers, tons of information the government's got. They can go forward or back in time and places. And again, I ask, what did they discover? What do they know? Why did they build all those FEMA camps? Why are they trying to get the guns? Why are they passing legislation? Why are they making all these laws and creating events to get the laws passed? Cause and effect. That's just my honest to goodness question I would like answered. And the only way I know how to get the answer out to me is if enough of us people know about it. Maybe it'll come about through the lack of public knowledge. Anyways, that's my point of view, and thank you for watching another one of my videos. And I took it outdoors. You can see here I'm in North Carolina in the mountains. Beautiful here. It's more fun than sitting in the living room talking to you. Look up these books, buy these books. Don't believe everything I tell you. Check it out for yourselves. Get educated, wake up, don't be a zombie. Rick Miracle reporting.